Hello, today I'm going to be demoing the block coding plugin for Godot by Endless. So to install the plugin, you're going to want to head over to the AssetLib in Godot, and you're going to want to find the block coding plugin by Endless. You can also search for it here. So you're going to want to click it, click download, and install. But I've already done it, so I will continue from here. And for the demo, I've set up this very simple sort of Pong game with nodes, but none of the scripts are actually attached. So if I play the game, you can see that I can't move anything, the ball is sort of bouncing around. And if the ball were to enter one of the goals, it doesn't get reset, and there's no score update. So that is what we want to implement today with our blocks. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So to start, I'm going to work on our paddles, and we want them to sort of move up and down, but not side by side. So what I'm going to do is add a child node to this paddle. I'm going to add the block code node, and this is what will allow us to create our block scripts. So now that I'm in the block code editor, what I can do is implement the code for this paddle. What I'm going to do is we don't need the ready block. We just want to, every frame, move the paddle around with the player 1 buttons. So what I'm going to do is move the paddle with the player 1 buttons with no speed on the x-axis, because we don't want it to move left and right. And we want it to move up and down, so we'll give it some speed on the y-axis. So now if we save the scene and run it, you can see we can move the left paddle up and down with the keys. So that works great. We also want this to work for the right paddle. So I'm going to go here and add another block code node. We don't need ready again, because nothing is happening on ready. We just need the process. But this time we're going to say move with player 2 buttons with the speed 0 on the x, because we don't want left and right. And then we'll just say 1000 on the y to move it up and down. So now both of the paddles should move with the keys, which is great. I'll show you what happens if we put in x and y speed. Maybe I'll just say 200. And now you can see I can move the right paddle left and right, which is not really what we want for a Pong game. So I'm just going to leave that at 0. So now we can implement the ball script. Now, the main thing we want to do in the ball is have it play sounds when it hits different objects. So what I'm going to do here is open up the sounds category for our blocks. And we need to load some sounds in. So in the add-ons folder, in the examples, we just have a few sound assets for different situations. So you're gonna want to load 3 different sounds. We're gonna use these file paths for paddle hit sound. Do the blocks here. Scoring sound. And a wall hit sound. And we'll give them names. Paddle, or and now what we want to do is check when the ball hits an object, we want it to play a sound, right? So what we have is these other entry points, right? We had this on ready and on process entry points to the script, but now we have this sort of on body entered entry point, which will fire whenever the ball hits an object. But we want the ball to play a different sound when a different object is hit. So that object is going to be passed in as body, and we can see what type of body is being hit. And we can check that with an if statement. So if we go into, let's say, logic conditionals, here are our if statements. So we'll say if body is in group, we'll say, we can use the paddle first. So if we check in our paddles, it has this group called paddles, right? So we can use that in our block script. Body is in group paddles. Then we will want to play the sound paddle with volume 0 and pitch scale 1. So that'll play normally. We go in here, and when the paddle hits the ball, you can hear the sound play. Okay, now we'll just implement one more sound. We'll use an if statement, and we'll say if our node which in this case is the body, is in group walls, we're going to play the wall hit sound. And that looks good. So now if we play this in the scene, now make a sound when it hits the walls. Great. And we have one more sound that we want to do, which is on score, but we can set that up later once we set up the goal areas. So go into the goal area and add a block code node. So this is the left goal. So we're going to say on body entered, you want to check if body is in the group balls. And what we're going to want to do is send a signal to our scoring node that the goal has been scored on the left. So what we can do is look for our call method, which is our sort of way of communicating between nodes, right? We're going to say call method left score in group. You can see what our scoring group is called. It is in the HUD group. So what we can do is say in group HUD, call method left score. Now in the scoring, we can add a block code node to this as well. And we can say when we receive a call from the goal area on the left, so we want to define that as a left score was what we're calling in the goal area. And we'll say change player 2 score by 1. So when the right player scores on the left, we'll increase his score by 1. We can test that out right here. So when the right player is scoring on the left player, score should increase by 1. But our ball does not get reset yet, so maybe we should add that in. So when the goal area is entered with the ball, let's signal to the ball by calling a method on it, by saying call method reset on our body, which is going to be our ball. Now that we have that, we can go back to our ball, and we can say when this method reset gets called, we can set the position of the ball back to the center. And we should be able to do that position by doing set physics position to the center of the space, which I just have memorized as 960, 544. So now if we try this out, when our ball hits the left goal, it should get reset, and the score should increase too. Wonderful. Now we want to do the same exact thing that we did for the left on the right. So we're going to go to the right area, add a block code node, say on body entered, check is our body group balls. We're going to say all method score, or we'll say right score group HUD to update the score, and we'll say call method reset on our ball. And now that should, well, it'll almost work. We just have to set up the right score method for the scoring block, and we will change the player 1 score this time by 1. Now if we run this, see when a ball goes into the right goal, it gets reset and the score gets updated. Both the players move. We can now play this little Pong game, and everything works. And all of the code was done with blocks, which is really cool, and should be helpful for beginners who don't want to get into the normal scripting language right away. So I hope this helped explain sort of what the block coding plugin does, and thanks for watching.